Hey everybody, Andrew here from The Bad Guitarist. Today we're going to be looking at this crazy modified Jaguar. This was my main guitar from about 2010 when I first got it till about 2020 when I first started doing some crazy modifications on it and really hadn't picked it up much in the last 4 or 5 years. Um, but here we are, 2026. I decided to do a big overhaul on this thing. So this originally started out as a Fender 2010 Blacktop Series Jaguar. So I'll throw an image up on the screen right here of what a stock version of this guitar would look like. So it had a black pickguard, two PAF style humbuckers on it, obviously no Bigsby on the stock version, and black witch hat knobs, and that's pretty much the stock version of this. So over the years I've modified this guitar countless times. The very first modification I did was the Bigsby, and I used a Vibramate adapter. And what that does is it allows you to install a Bigsby on a guitar without having to drill any additional holes. You just use the preset stock holes that Fender or whatever manufacturer put on the guitar. So right here, where the tailpiece used to mount, is where the Vibramate attaches to, and then the Bigsby attaches to the Vibramate. So that was the very first modification I did. And immediately I was having tuning stability issues, just insane amount of tuning issues. So the next thing I did was I installed the Schaller roller bridge. And that pretty much did it for me. And then this is about 2012. So at the time I was about 17 or 18. I got the guitar in 2010, as I said. So when I was 16, it was my first real guitar. So yeah, by the time I was 17, 18, I had modified this thing so many times. So I realized string changes were a huge issue. So that came the next modification. These are Schaller Fender locking tuners. So hopefully I can get that to focus on there. Anyway, so those are Fender Schaller licensed Fender locking tuners. So that made string changes on this thing so much easier, so much quicker. At the time, I thought locking tuners, that means it helps them stay in tune. It's not necessarily the case, but in the, many years, I don't even know how long ago 2012 would have been, but since about 2012, I have had zero tuning issues on this guitar. And then one cosmetic change I made on the back of this guitar is, well, it's upside down. I put a Fender badge on here from my very first combo amp. So I played through a lot of weird borrowed amps from my uncle. I played through old 80s stereo systems that I had converted into guitar amps. But my first real amp was a Fender Frontman 212R. And I blew it up because I didn't know you can't just play basses through guitar amps without possibly running into issues. So I was at a friend's house in high school, and I plugged his, a Gretsch Electromatic bass into my, and it's a short scale bass with a humbucker. I plugged that thing into my Frontman and just blew it up. So kept it around as a cabinet for a long time, but eventually scrapped it, kept the badge on it, and threw it on the Jaguar. So those were most of the modifications early on. There's some cosmetic stuff, different knobs over the years. But in 2020, during the pandemic, that is when I decided to install a third humbucker on this thing. So I had to route out part of the body, and I will also throw a picture of what it looked like from about 2020 until this past week. So I had three different humbuckers on there. I had a Gretsch Filtertron in the neck position. I had the bridge pickup that was stock to this guitar moved up to the middle position. And then in the bridge position was an Epiphone humbucker out of a random Epiphone SG. So that was kind of just a proof of concept of okay, I can fit three humbuckers in this thing. And then the wiring on it was the three-way toggle. I didn't know what to do with it, really, because I wanted to have access to a bunch of different tones. And it ended up being really limited because in position 1, it turned on the bridge and middle. Position 2 turned on all three pickups in an out-of-phase, weird, honky sound. And then position 3 was just the neck pickup because that's always my primary pickup. on almost any guitar. Ended up finding it not to be as versatile as I'd hoped, and I wanted to be able to expand on that and do a rotary switch. So in this particular guitar now, this down here is a 6-way rotary. So we'll run you through the different ones here. So all the way in position 1 is just the bridge pickup. Position 2 is the bridge and middle. Position 3, middle. Position 4, these two right here, the middle and the neck. Position 5, just the neck. And then position 6 is the bridge and neck. So essentially 1 through 5 are kind of set up like a Strat, and then position 6 is the more like a Telecaster, a middle position, or like a Les Paul middle position. There is also the option on these pickups to do a coil split, but I chose not to do it, so I might do like a master coil split to split all 3 together to make it more like a Strat. But aside from that, these pickups, if you've watched any of my recent videos on the 1-cent pickups that I got from Amazon Haul, only one arrived, and there was this big issue that went on for like over a month of just trying to get a refund. And eventually they gave me a refund, and out of nowhere, like 2 weeks ago, the other 2 pickups arrived. So these are 3-cent humbuckers right here in this guitar. So that's what you're going to be hearing throughout this video. So real quick, we'll just run through a bunch of different sound demonstrations. We'll start off on position 1, work our way up to position 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then we'll talk about it a little bit at the end. So let's start on position 1, and I will say throughout this video you're going to hear a couple different tone options. So I do have reverb on the Fender Bass Breaker 15 back there, and I am using a variety of different tones here. So there will be a clean bass tone of just guitar and amp. The edge of breakup sound you're going to be hearing is the Earthquaker Blooms, so it'll go from like a clean to a bit of a crunch. And then the heavier fuzz sound that you're going to hear is my own fuzz pedal, the Bad OTIS. So those are the 3 sounds you're going to be hearing throughout this video. So let's go ahead and start on position 1. All right, now position 2. All right, position 3, we're going to hear that middle pickup. It's the most, I would say, quick to break up. It seems to be, even though these are 3 identical pickups, it seems like that is like the highest gain one. I don't know if it's just the placement of being in the middle, but that one is the quickest to break up of the 3. And it really pushes the amp, even without any overdrive on, or even the boost from the blooms. It really seems to push the amp into like a really gritty territory, just naturally. So you'll get that a lot on, I'm sure you heard it on position 2, but you'll hear it a lot on position 3 and position 4 as well. Alright, now we're coming up on my last 2 positions on here, which are my favorite. Position 5, just the neck pickup. I absolutely love it. Alright, now the position that I was the most concerned about when wiring this up, which, speaking of which, this was a very difficult wiring job with the 6-way rotary. So number 6, the bridge and neck pickups together, I was worried about how that was going to turn out. I considered even doing an all-on, but keep them as in phase as possible as compared to my previous wiring on this guitar. I opted not to do that. So maybe later on a push-pull pot to turn on all 3. I don't know yet. But as of right now, the neck and bridge together, I think that's a beautiful sound on this guitar. Anyway, so that is the sound of my super modified Blacktop Jaguar. Posted about this online and in different guitar groups and different like Fender groups. People were giving me mixed reviews. Some people said they like really loved the aesthetic of it. Other people said, "Oh my God, it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen." So let me know in the comments what you think about it. Other than that, I do want to give a shout out to WD Music for doing the custom pickguard. It was a very simple process. I just had to send them what I wanted, and I ultimately probably paid more than I should have for it. It was about $125, which I know a lot of you are going to be like, what? But yeah, it's completely custom pickguard. And the reason I chose WD over other companies is they've recently, in the last few years, they acquired pickguards.com. So with that merger, they acquired all of the templates from pickguards.com. So this was one of the only places that had both the options of the stock template for the Blacktop, but they also are willing to do modifications to it, whereas some of these other companies, it seemed to be a more intricate process of emailing back and forth a lot to try to get exactly what I would want. So out of like just a really simple process, WD Music, it is pricey, but I think this looks great. It's exactly what I pictured. So when I was designing how I wanted this to look this time, I was kind of thinking something like an 80s Ibanez Destroyer with like the 3 white humbuckers all in a row. Sometimes people would modify them, put Bigsby's on them, or there'd be like crazy ones like Floyd Rose style bridges. So I wanted to keep like the simple, elegant look that I had previously, like one of the first iterations I had on this guitar when I first put the Bigsby on it. Because originally, the black pickguard on the silver with the witch hat knobs, it reminded me of a Rhodes piano, and that's what drew me to it originally. But I wanted to keep some kind of elegant look to it, but I also wanted like the crazy pickup combination. So I don't know. Tell me in the comments what you guys think about the way this looks overall. What do you think of the sounds? I think these 1-cent pickups, when I previously reviewed the one that I put into my wife's Yamaha Pacifica, I thought it sounded terrible, and I gave it a really bad review. But I think what it came down to is in that particular guitar, it didn't sound good. But the lo-fi nature of these cheap pickups, I think it really shines in this guitar, especially with the Bigsby. I do play like a lo-fi style of music, punk, garage rock, that kind of stuff. So for me, I think in this guitar, having 3 of the same matching pickup, and they are all the Artec HBW, I've got the box set over there, HBWXBNWH is the model number. All 3 of these are bridge pickups. So I think having the matched set, it actually sounds pretty good in this guitar. So that's just my opinion. But again, let me know what you guys think. And should I do the coil split in this thing? Or do you think that's unnecessary? Other than that, thanks for checking the video out. Find us every Sunday here on YouTube or on different podcast platforms. The Bad Guitars Podcast. We are your weekly news show on all guitar gear that comes out throughout the week. So we try to do 10 to 20 new gear releases every week that we cover. We go into detail. My wife Kat and I, we talk about it. So if you haven't checked us out, please come join us on Sundays for that. Other than that, the only way you can really support the channel is to just like and subscribe. Leave us a positive comment. Leave us a bad comment. Whatever you want to say. We'd appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Have a good night.